We're now going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines and the relationships between the slopes of these lines. So we can actually say that if two lines are parallel, they have an equal gradient or slope. And you think about that, parallel lines, they're like train tracks. They're on exactly the same angle, even though those lines aren't straight. So therefore, they're parallel. Parallel, same slope. If you ever hear the word parallel in the question, think immediately same slope, because that's what the question is trying to say. Then if lines are perpendicular, now that means at 90 degrees to each other, then their gradients are something called negative reciprocals. We talk about what that means. If we have two lines at 90 degrees to each other, like this, and say that the gradient or the slope of this line here is equal to a half, then the gradient of this line up here is the negative reciprocal. All that means is that you flip the fraction, so you flip it and you change the sign. Okay, so if you think of negative reciprocal, so the reason we'd want to write that as negative 6/1 is because then that makes it really easy to flip the slope. I'm going to use this sign for perpendicular. As you can see, that's a right angle. So the perpendicular slope, I'm going to flip that fraction and I'm going to change the sign from a negative to a positive. So I'm not going to actually put a sign in there. Okay? First two examples. Next example down there, we've been asked to state if the line connecting -1, 3 and 4, -2 is parallel. So be careful of your words. This says it's parallel, it's not perpendicular. It's parallel to the line connecting 2, -4 and -1, -1. So I'm just going to remember that parallel means the same slope. That's what it means. And so in order to work out whether this line here and this line here are parallel, I'm actually going to calculate the slope of these lines. So I'm going to write the slope formula. Slope is equal to y2 take y1 over x2 take x1. Okay, that's the slope formula. So now the slope of the line with through -1, 3 and 4, -2 is actually going to equal, remember what we do, we write underneath x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's line it up. y2 is equal to -2. y1 is equal to 3. x2 is equal to 4 and x1 is equal to -1. So we found the slope of that. That's -5/4 take 1, which is 4 plus 1, which is 3. Then I'm going to write, and I'm not going to use green because you can't see it. I'm going to find the slope of the line through the other 2 points. And the other 2 points are 2, -4, and -1, -1. So again, I'm going to make sure that I write, well, x2, y2, just so I don't make mistakes, and x1, y1. And so I'm going to go, the slope is y2 take y1, so that's going to be -4 minus -1 over x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is -1, so minus -1. So -4 plus 1 is -3, and then we get that Rightio, one more example. So we're now being asked if this line connecting 3, 4 and 5, 7 is parallel or perpendicular to the line joining 8, -6 and 5, -4. So what we can do is actually work out what the slope is. So we come back to our formula that we know very well now is y2 take y1 over x2 take x1. And what we're going to do is firstly find the slope through 3, 4 and 5, 7. And then we're going to find the slope through 8, -6 and 5, -4 and compare them. Alrighty, so I've set my page up like that. And I'm going to remember that I always label this as the points as x1, y1 and x2, y2, just so that I don't get confused when I put them into my formula. So I'm going to call this one x1, y1, and this one x2, y2. And then I'm going to put the numbers into the formula. So y2, 7, y1, 4. So it's going to be 7 minus 4. x2, 5, x1, 3, 5 minus 3. So I'm going to get that the slope of this line is 3 over 2. The slope of this line, well, y2 is -4, y1 is -6, so I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 8. So I get -4 plus 6 over 5 take 8, which is -3. So that's going to give me 2 over -3. Now that I've done that, I can compare the slopes. So 3 over 2, is that equal to 2 over -3? No. It's similar, but it's not equal. But 3 over 2 and -2 over 3 are negative, and I'm actually going to write the word out this time, negative reciprocals. Because if you flipped one of them and changed the sign, you would get the same fraction. So therefore, the lines are perpendicular. And that's the end of those types of questions.